Hey, what is going on, guys? Recently I've been getting a decent amount of questions in the comment section of my videos asking about what certain settings I use on Fortnite. Things like sensitivity, button layout, whether I have certain features on or off. So I've decided to take this video today to totally clear the air, show you guys all of my sensitivities and settings that I use, and hopefully you guys will be able to pick up a few things along the way as I explain why I use the certain settings that I do. So not a long intro, let's get right into it. Okay guys, so we're going to start with probably the most important settings, and these are those on the screen right there. We're going to start off with controller sensitivity X and Y, which is basically your non-aim down sight sensitivity, and as I mentioned briefly in the shotgun video, I use 6 and 6 for both of them. You can watch that video for a longer explanation, but basically I believe it's quick enough to track people while also being accurate enough to land headshots and high damage body shots. Just a quick myth I want to dispel about this real quick. As I responded to someone in the comments saying I use 6, he followed up saying, well, what 6 do you use? Do you use right in the beginning of 6 or at the end of 6? Because if you've ever messed with the sensitivity screen, it's almost like you can go to decimals. You can go really high on the scale of 6 or really low on the scale of 6. And I'm here to tell you that that does not matter. There have been various videos that have tested that myth that a high 6 is different than a low 6. It doesn't matter at all. If you have 6, it's the same as anybody else's 6, no matter how far along the bar they are. So that is what I would suggest. I think anything lower than 5 is way too slow, and anything higher than like 7 or 8, you're probably not accurate enough. So I think 6 is a really great setting, and it's what I've used for the past 2 or 3 months on Fortnite. Controller ADS sensitivity. Another common myth that I see players fall into is that you should match up your ADS and your non-ADS sensitivity. So like for example, if you have 6 non-ADS, you should have 0.6 ADS. This is not true. I know Nick Merckx uses like 0.49 ADS. I see for the most part people have this way too high. I think around 0.45 to 0.6 is probably the sweet spot for ADS sensitivity. If you use a higher non-ADS sensitivity, you probably want to go more towards the 0.6 area, and maybe if you're at like 5 non-ADS sensitivity, you want to be more towards 0.45. But what I use is 0.53. I think right around 0.5 is perfect, and that's that for ADS sensitivity. Now, controller scope sensitivity is one where I'm more out of the norm on than all of my other ones. I use 0.4, which is definitely slow. I see most good people on console use 0.4 to 0.6. And the reason I use 0.4 is because I believe snipers in this game are unlike Call of Duty and Overwatch and Halo, where it's really about lining up your shots, about precision. So I think if I would be at that 0.5, 0.6 range, I'd lose a lot of accuracy. So I prefer the lower 0.4 so I can really line up my shots and be super precise with my sniper shots. The rest of this stuff doesn't really matter. I would just leave it on default. I honestly don't even know what this means. So let's hop into the next screen of settings. Alright, so here we are in the next screen of settings. A lot of these are not so important, so I'll highlight the ones that I've either changed or I feel are somewhat important that I should mention. Sprint cancel reloading, I have this off just because I feel like it really screws me up with things like RPGs, because it seems like the RPG's reloaded, then I'll try to sprint and it'll cancel the reload. So this one, you know, I could see going either way. It's really whatever you're comfortable with, but I prefer it off because certain weapons have misleading reload animations where you're going to accidentally cancel it all the time. Aim assist you obviously want on. Reset building choice. This is a big one. There are actually some really good players on console that don't use this. They have it on off. I think Nick Merckx for the longest time had it on off. He actually may have it off, and that is such a bad idea because you cannot build muscle memory if you have this setting on off. Because what this basically does is it makes it so that whatever building piece you use last is what will defaultly be up when you pull up the building menu next time around. So like if you're building walls in one fight and then you're building stairs in another fight, sometimes you're going to be starting off building walls, sometimes you're going to be starting off building stairs, sometimes you're going to be starting off building floor pieces. You'll never be able to build muscle memory with that. Whereas if you have it on, which every player should, you're always going to be starting with walls, therefore you can build muscle memory. You'll know that 2 clicks to the right is going to be stairs, 1 click to the right is going to be flat pieces. If you want walls, all you have to do is pull up the building menu and spam it. Super important to keep this on. Do not mess with it no matter what. Turbo building I have on. I rarely ever use it, but sometimes I find it helpful. That setting basically makes it so that you can hold down right trigger and it'll keep building whatever piece you're building. Auto material change, you obviously want that on. Controller auto run, I have it off, but I really don't care if anyone has it on. I've just noticed sometimes it accidentally makes me auto run in fights, which I find annoying, but it is a pretty convenient setting, so I don't have a problem with anyone having it on. And all the other ones are basically non-gameplay affecting settings, so I would just keep them on default. Now finally getting into the controller layout. This may be the most questioned thing I have in Fortnite. I use the default controller button layout, but only because that is what I am so used to. I started playing Fortnite all the way back in September and October when that was the only button layout, so I've become so used to it and such a good builder with it that I don't want to change because I don't know how much I could really get better with any other building layout. What I would suggest for you guys that are trying to improve as builders or just looking to change settings, make the switch to Builder Pro. It is the best button layout for building, hands down. It's the closest thing we have to PC building on console, and it's really done a good job of closing the skill gap between console and PC builders. I would highly recommend it. It basically makes it so that every button is bound to a certain building piece. So like, I believe stairs are left trigger, walls are right trigger. It's just so good. I've had so many friends that have gotten considerably better at building in a span of like 3 or 4 days just by switching this button layout and really taking the time to learn it. So if you're looking for a button layout that'll make you a better builder, I would highly recommend not following my path of using the worst button layout and making the switch to Builder Pro. So that's really all I have for you guys today. I hope this did a good job of clearing up all of my settings, and I hope I did a good job of explaining why I use the certain things that I do. Maybe you guys found some tips, maybe you guys are going to change some settings because of this video, and I hope it helped you out. Leave a comment, leave a like, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.